Burlington's Lieutenant Commander Gothi was trapped in the UN headquarters in Port-au-Prince, Haiti during the last week's earthquake. He was one of the few survivors.
My rank is Lieutenant Commander Shekhar Gothi. I'm a resident of Burlington, currently working with the United Nations mission in Haiti and the Canadian Task Force Port-au-Prince, which is part of Operation Hamlet out of the Canadian Expeditionary Forces in Ottawa. Well, it was around 5 p.m. on Tuesday, the 12th of January, last Tuesday. I'd just come out of my office and felt a tremendous shaking of the building, and almost immediately pieces of the ceiling started falling apart and falling on top of me, and then shortly thereafter it got a lot more violent, and the entire building and all the contents started to shake very, very violently. And at that point I knew what was going on, and shortly thereafter me and another gentleman were completely buried in the rubble. The building had collapsed, and the ceiling above us just disintegrated. Well, initially I just tried to lift my arms to cover my head a little bit from all the falling debris, but I couldn't even do that. It just happened so quickly, and the building was just shaking so violently I couldn't even lift my arms. It was almost like being in a free fall, but lots of things falling on top. And within seconds, we were completely buried, and fortunately we were in a semi-standing position, so we didn't get pinned lying down or anything, which was very fortunate. Otherwise, I don't think we would have been able to make it out of the building. And completely buried over our heads, me and this other gentleman that was behind me. And yeah, it was completely dark. The electricity went out almost immediately, and we had no light, very little air. There was a lot of dust and debris, even in the air. So breathing was quite difficult, and it was just it was a unique experience. Just as I was coming out of my office, there was another Haitian gentleman who was just a little bit behind me, walking in the same direction. And when the building started to shake and things started to happen, in a bit of a panic, he clinged on to me, and he actually held on. And then once the building and the ceiling fell apart, he and I were buried in fairly close proximity. And he was quite distraught, and he was yelling and screaming, and I just tried to calm him down and just try to get him to relax a little bit so that we could, so I could strategize what the next step would be. He was a civilian, Haitian gentleman, and so I just tried to calm him down. He only spoke French, I believe, and so in my best French I tried to just reassure him that, we're both still alive, and we'd find a way out. Initially, I thought we were in a dire situation, certainly. We were, as I mentioned, we were completely buried. We did not know, I did not know what the state of the rest of the building was like, or any other people in the building. So at that particular moment, my only focus was to make sure that this gentleman and I were all right. If we could extricate ourselves from the position that we were in, and sort of the confines that we were in, make sure that he was okay physically, and if there was any first aid that I could administer, I could do that with any people in the vicinity, and then if we were able to, just get out of the building, because it was still quite unstable, and there's still a lot of opportunity for us to get trapped even further or injured. During the course of the time that we were trapped, there were some more tremors and some more shifting of debris, and some debris had shifted, and we were just able to sort of work our way out of where we were buried. And that's the best way I can explain it. Just struggling a little bit physically, and the shifting debris, just a combination of those things allowed us to work our way out of where we were.
Shekhar, you have lots of friends and colleagues who didn't make it out.
I do, and my thoughts and prayers are with their families and their loved ones. very unfortunate. Some very talented and courageous people did not make it out of the building. This is a tremendously difficult time for a lot of people, and certainly the Canadian Forces is always been committed to helping people, and not just at home, but in many other parts of the world. We have missions, both in the United Nations and in other organizations, Afghanistan certainly being the most prominent, but there are other UN missions that the Canadian Forces takes part in, and certainly Haiti was a prominent one among them. And in addition to the 4 or 5 people that were on the ground from the Canadian Forces at the time of the accident, subsequently, over the course of the last week, the Canadian Forces and the Canadian government has supplied a tremendous amount of aid to warships, continuous daily flights of cargo and relief aid, medicine, all these supplies that need to get there desperately. And